This information is for general guidance only and is not legal advice. It should not be regarded or relied upon as complete or authoritative statement of the law. Birmingham People Centre is not liable for any loss, damages, or inconvenience arising from using the information provided. Employers and employees can clash for many different reasons, and for you, the employee, it can be very stressful. Your employment is likely to be very important to you, and it's worrying when things go wrong at work. We understand that employment law can be very difficult and confusing to work out, and it is not always easy to know your rights. We understand that when you have a problem at work, such as not receiving the correct amount of pay, being dismissed, or experiencing discrimination, it can be very frustrating, and that you might want to go straight to the employment tribunal where an employment judge will decide the case. But if you want to make a claim to the employment tribunal, you must first go through Acas Conciliation. Acas is an independent organisation set up by the government that tries to help employers and employees resolve employment disputes. They do this through conciliation. They don't take sides and try to help find a solution to the disagreement. There are a few exceptions to this rule, which include: firstly, making a complaint as a group when another person has already sorted out the early conciliation. Secondly, asking for interim relief, which is asking to be paid or kept on when you've been dismissed in some specific cases. And finally, if you work for the government, in the security services. So what does conciliation mean? Let me explain. Conciliation is just a way of describing the action of calming people down when in a problematic environment, trying to find a solution that works for both parties and avoids the need to make a claim to the employment tribunal. This means the problem can be resolved quicker. It can take a long time for an employment tribunal to hear the case. If you would need to pay a solicitor to help you, then you will also save on legal fees by going through early conciliation. The tribunal process can be very stressful, and there is no certainty that you would get the outcome you want at a tribunal either. By using early conciliation, you might also be more likely to preserve the relationship between you and your employer. These are important things to consider. Your first step will be to fill out the Acas Early Conciliation Notification Form. This can be done on the Acas website, and the address can be found on the accompanying fact sheet. If you do not have internet access or would feel more comfortable doing this over the phone, don't worry. You can also call Acas to talk through your issues on 0300 123 1122 or send the form through the post. The address is also on the fact sheet. To help you complete the form online or by phone, make sure you have the following information ready: your employer's legal name and address, which you might find on your payslip, contract, or letter of employment. The trading name of the company is not always the same as the legal name. If you are unsure about the name of your employer, then please contact us for assistance, as it is important that you use the correct legal name. The registered address of your employer, which might be on a letter from your employer. You can check on the company's house website if unsure on the correct address. Your own name, phone number, email, and home address. The details of your representative, if you have chosen to have one, and a summary of the details of your employment problem. When you speak with your Acas conciliator, they will ask you what you want to achieve. It might be straightforward if the problem is, for example, outstanding wages, but in other cases it is not so easy to calculate the potential value of your claim and what you should be asking for. If you need help in assessing the strength and potential value of your claim to help you when you are negotiating through Acas, please contact us. If your problems involve more than one of your employers, or possibly more than one company, you will need to go through the Acas early conciliation process for each of them. For example, if you have suffered discrimination at work, it is possible to take legal action against the employer and the person who discriminated against you. Don't worry about remembering these details for now. You can find the checklist on the fact sheet to help you. Whether you want a representative or not is completely up to you. Your representative could be a friend, or perhaps a relative, colleague, union official, or lawyer. The chosen person will talk to Acas for you about your side of the story and try to reach an agreement with your employer. Make sure they have agreed to represent you before you give their details to Acas. Having a representative might be the right decision for you if you feel another person may be able to represent you better in the process. They might be more confident, be able to explain things better, or it might just be too stressful for you, and that's absolutely fine too. Before you start early conciliation, Acas might ask you to talk to your employer and raise a grievance. A grievance is where you raise a complaint with your employer about the problem, with the hope that they will investigate and sort things out. If you don't have a copy of the grievance policy, then ask your employer to provide you with a copy or where you can find it. For early conciliation, an independent Acas conciliation officer, also known as a conciliator, will talk through the problems with both you, or your representative, and your employer. Don't worry, this won't be at the same time, therefore you will not need to face your employer and negotiate with them directly. The conciliator will help both you and your employer understand each other's side of the story and will try and help you both reach an agreement. This will lead to one of two outcomes. Either you and your employer come to an agreement and a legally binding document called a COT 3 is created, or alternatively, you and your employer do not come to an agreement and you'll be given a certificate. Let's break these two issues down. So what happens when you and your employer do come to an agreement? When this happens, both you and your employer will sign a COT 3 agreement. Don't worry, a COT 3 is just a simple document that will say what you and your employer have agreed on. Acas will not be able to give you advice on your agreement with your employer, and you must remember that a COT 3 is binding. This means you have to stick to what is written down. Because of this, you should be careful before agreeing to what is included in a COT 3. It might be useful to get legal advice before you sign the document. If you are feeling worried about what is written in your COT 3 or are confused, then contact us, the Birmingham People Centre. We will be able to talk through your agreement with you for free. This way you can make sure that you are happy and clear on what you are agreeing to. Depending on what is written in the agreement, you might not be able to go to the employment tribunal about the problem. Make sure you check and understand the implications of signing the agreement. If your employer does not keep their side of the agreement, such as paying you the money they said they would, then contact us about how to enforce the agreement. However, you and your employer might not come to an agreement. This can happen, but don't worry. You can still use the employment tribunal to try and help sort out your original problem. Acas will send you an early conciliation certificate which has a unique reference number. You will need this number if you make a claim to the employment tribunal. The time limit for bringing a claim to the employment tribunal is 3 months less a day from when the problem first arises. When you contact Acas, this time will be paused so you can go through the conciliation without worrying about it. This will be a maximum of 6 weeks. The time will then continue to run again once you receive your conciliation certificate. If you haven't been able to resolve the problem during early conciliation and you issue a claim to the employment tribunal, Acas can still help both parties reach a settlement. Once a claim is issued, an Acas conciliator is allocated to the claim, usually the same one as you dealt with during early conciliation. Whilst resolving an employment issue seems like a daunting hurdle, do not be afraid. There are frameworks in place to help you with your difficulties. If you have any further questions about the conciliation process, please feel free to drop an email to the Birmingham People Centre at info@bhampc.co.uk or call us on 07972 437 396. You can also access the fact sheet resource for early conciliation, which contains the information from this video as well as all contact information. We are here to help you, so please contact us.